Kyle. In this video, I'm going to give you a step-by-step process that you can follow to teach pretty much anything in the context of a classroom, public speaking, YouTube video, a course that you're putting together. Not so much something like meeting your friend in the street and just explaining something to them quickly. This is a more structured, deliberate process that you can follow. The way I'm going to teach this content is I'm going to use the structure given to me here. This is not original content. This is from a program by Eben Pagan called Advanced Learning and Teaching Strategies. I'm going to simultaneously use this as I teach you what to do. If you've been paying attention, I've already done two things. I've already given the first two steps, which is one, a mini what. It's a mini what. You state very briefly what this video is about, what's happening in this video. You'll notice that I said, you may have noticed that I was, in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to teach something. But then I said step number two, which is set a context. And I said, that's in the context of this, and not this. So to just summarize where we're at so far, mini what, state what's about to be explained, and give it some context so that people know, okay, what's that related to in the field of what? Okay. The next thing you want to deal with is why. You've told someone what you're going to teach them and given it some context, but a person's mind isn't instantly motivated to care about what you're talking about. Therefore, it's really important that you're able to come up with a really strong why. There are 5 steps that you can take in the why step. 5 kind of sub-steps. You don't need to do them all. However, it can be helpful if you do. If you're, okay, let's do it like this. I'll just tell you what the why is. You know, I said that I was going to use the structure, but it's just a little bit difficult to go so meta. I can barely focus on it. Let me just tell you what the 5 are. The first why is you can give someone an identity to step into. You can tell them, if you learn this content, if you really take this in and make it habitual, automatically understood, make it work like that, so that you're able to do it on command, you can be the kind of person who, and then you can insert. I could say stuff like, if you understand this strategy for teaching, you're going to be a very persuasive person. People will look to you as a leader. I can say those things like persuasive person, leader, and I could choose whatever. I just go those identity level labels that you'll be able to put on yourself if you learn this stuff. So when you're teaching your things, you think, what identity level concepts will people be able to have by learning these things? And you just tell them. The next is called the 6 sermons. There's 6 of these things. There's 3 categories and there's 2 of each, like positive and negative. People are motivated by different things. Some people are motivated by power. Some people are motivated by achievement, and some people are motivated by affiliation. Affiliation meaning kind of like friendship, status, position within the tribe and the culture. Therefore, what you want to tell your audience so that you can appeal to all the different types of people is, if you do this, if you understand this, if you learn this, you will, and then you say, you will have the power to. You'll have the power to this, you'll have the power to that, you'll have the power to this, the power to that. On the other hand, if you don't learn this, you're going to be unable to do these things and these things and these things. So as you go through these 6 sermons, you're going through power, achievement, and affiliation, and you're saying, on one hand, if you learn this content, you can do these things. On the other hand, if you can't do this related to power, then you go to achievement. You can achieve this, achieve that. Otherwise, you won't be able to achieve this, achieve this. And then you go affiliation, which is related to, oh, you'll be such a popular, you can tell that I'm not a person motivated by affiliation. I immediately diss it as soon as it comes up. It's like, oh, you'll be a person who's respected by everyone and everyone's going to like you and whatever. On the other hand, if you don't know how to teach something, then when you get on stage, people are going to look at you like, what is this person talking about? Okay, so for any of our affiliation-minded people, that would immediately grip them. If they're also away from, see, it's toward and away from. So the 6 sermons. The next one is it's to connect the motivation to the topic. So that's kind of part of the 6 sermons. I mean, it's really saying that you'll get those things, but you really need to bring it in and make it abundantly clear to the person how that topic relates to that power, achievement, affiliation, toward, away from motivation. You have to make it very obvious how it connects. I feel that one's less interesting because it's kind of obvious. The 4th one is very important. People may be motivated toward now that you've said those 6 sermons and you've got the people who are motivated by power and affiliation and achievement, and you've also given them identity. So people are kind of like wanting to learn the content because they can see how it'll help in their lives. However, the next thing you need to do is you need to remove disenabling beliefs, because if someone has a block, that's like a resistance to doing what the to learning it. It's like, oh, I don't know if I could ever do that. So you need to encourage them and you say, it doesn't matter if you're like this. For example, just say I was teaching weight loss. No, let's stick with the topic of teaching. Look, it doesn't matter if you've never spoken in front of an audience before. It doesn't matter if you were the kid in high school on the debate who you tried debating and you went up in front of a class and your knees were just shaking and your fingers were shaking. It doesn't matter if you're that person. It doesn't matter if you've had all the worst experiences with teaching in the world. All you have associated with it is embarrassment and humiliation. You can still do this. If you learn to use this process and practice it, you can get up there and deliver an amazing speech or deliver an amazing tutorial or lecture. See what you can do there? You remove those disenabling beliefs. And the last thing you can do for motivation is you can gamify it. So you can make it a game, something that's really a technique that works well. Just say you're teaching an online course or something like that. Before you get into the course, and you say, now let's make a 90-day commitment to this. Let's say to ourselves right now that we're going to make a 90-day commitment to engaging with this content and practicing this content. And then you can even go further and you can say, maybe we're going to do up 90 things and cross them off. But you find some way to make it engaging. Like you go meta and say you can do this to make like a little fun game out of your practicing. Say you're teaching like a fitness course or something like that. You can say, oh, you get a point here or something. Just make it a bit fun. Make it a game. And then hopefully by that time the person is motivated and they're like, I really want to learn this content, because they're feeling good about it, they're excited about this identity, they're motivated either by power, affiliation, or achievement, toward or away from. They don't have like disenabling beliefs, they believe in themselves, they think they can do it, and they're invested with that gamification. They're like, yeah, this is going to be fun, I'm going to do it like this. Then you can get into the teaching. There are 6 steps according to what I have written in front of me. The first thing you do is you give an overview of the process involved. I'm talking like 15 to 20 seconds. For example, say I was I just motivated you to learn this this teaching strategy, I could then say, this teaching strategy involves 4 steps. Or 3 steps. There's the why, the what, and the how. And you go, first you motivate someone with the why, then you tell them what they need to do, and then you tell them how to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through why, and then what, and then how. Stick with it to the very end, because people learn through different ways, and if you miss the what and the how, and you've only got the why, you'll motivate some people, but people who need to know how to do things will never take action. Okay, even that was a little bit too long, I would say, but you give a general overview like that. The next thing you do, I'm sorry about these lights that keep going off, on and off, I don't know what's going on. The next thing you do is you define any terms that you need. For example, in this, maybe I need to define the term motivation, maybe I need to define the term gamification, maybe I need to define what a process or a procedure is. In this case, I feel like I'm deliberately talking to an intelligent audience who gets those things, and plus it's not that complicated a topic. However, if you're talking about something complicated, then you want to take a pause and say, okay, now we're going to be talking some pretty complicated stuff here, and there's some terms that you want to understand if you're going to be able to engage with this content. Therefore, before we get into telling you what you need to do, I'm going to lay out some of these terms for you and give you some definitions for them. That way, when we get to the content, you're not going to be lost and you're going to know exactly what we're talking about. And then you proceed to give whatever the definitions that you need to give. So this is all, taking the person by their hand and making them feel really comfortable with learning what you're going to teach them. After you've defined the terms, the next thing to do is teach the principles. Of course, after this, things like procedure and process are going to come, but before people understand why the procedure that you're giving them or the process that you're teaching them works, they need to understand the principles. Therefore, for example, in this particular thing where I'm teaching how to teach, I could tell you things like, one principle is that there's people who are motivated by 3 things. Some people are motivated by power, some people are motivated by affiliation, and some people are motivated by achievement. And then I could define those things, which I did earlier. I could also say that people are motivated by toward or away from, and I explain what toward motivation is and away from motivation is. I could also, there was something I was going to say, but I forgot. I can't remember. Depending on what your topic is, just choose the things that you don't think people are going to completely understand. Don't talk down to your audience. Don't define stuff that they already know and they're going to be rolling their eyes. Give them the ones that you think are actually going to be useful to them. No, I think I got a bit lost there. I started to talk about defined terms. I'm sorry. So principles. Yeah, okay, well, oh, yeah, all right. Yeah, okay, so here, I'm sorry, I'm glad you stuck with me through that little lost part. I just got a bit lost. There's a lot of content we're covering here. Another principle I might teach you in this, I would say, okay, there's people who learn in 3 different ways. Some people, you just need to tell them why it's important, and then they're like, oh, okay, awesome. I'm gonna go do this and engage with it and practice it. And you don't even need to tell them what to do or how to do it. They're just gonna go do it because they're motivated by why, and they'll just attack it. The next type of person, they learn by you telling them what to do. So keep in mind, this is a bit different from how. You teach them what to do, and they're like, okay, well, I get that I need to do that kind of action. I'll go figure out how to do it by myself. I get that those are the steps. Cheers, appreciate it. I love the procedure. I'm gonna go do it. The third type of person is motivated by learns by, just tell me how to do everything. Like, I don't care what the steps are. I don't care why I should do it. I'm already good with that. I want to do it. Just tell me exactly what I need to know, and don't leave anything out. I want to know all of it, every little minor detail, so that I can just go do it for myself. That's kind of me. I'm just like, tell me specifically how to do it, and I will do it. That's me. People are different, but you need to, that's why we go what, and why, what, how. All right, the next thing you may want to do is include a diagram. Often you don't use a diagram, but if you can find some way to use a diagram, go for it. I'm just going to skip over that one because it's just like, hey, you put a diagram together of the things we're about to talk next. Finally, we get to the ones that are about how, and that's the procedure. The diagram's also how, but procedure is big time how. When you give the procedure, it's literally about telling them step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. For example, if I was to do that right now, I would say, here's what to do. Start by saying your mini what. Then set a context. Then motivate people to want to learn. This is the why teaching. So you're doing identity, then you're doing the 6 sermons, then you're connecting the motivation to the topic, then you're removing disenabling beliefs, then you're gamifying it and making it a game. After that, you move into the what/how. You start with an overview, you define the terms, you sedate the principles. That covers most of the what. Now we go into the how, which is putting together a diagram and a procedure, and then next, it's something called reference structures, which we'll get into in just a second. So that is a procedure. Once you get to, everything's understood, they've got the principles, they understand stuff, give a procedure that someone can follow step by step. Next, the final thing, and this is very, very important, is called reference structures. And this is how a person can know if they're doing it correctly. For example, take like weightlifting. If someone's teaching like the correct form, they would say, now you'll know if you're doing it correctly if you just glance in the mirror a bit and you see that your shoulders are in this position, your knees are at about this angle, and take a look down at your ankle as well, and if it's in that position, you're doing it right. Now when you actually go down, you're going to feel, just try and get in your body here, and you're going to feel the load right there. And if you feel it there, then it's working. However, if you feel it more in this location, then you're probably doing it wrong, and therefore you need to go a bit this way or something like that. So you give those reference structures so people know, am I doing it right, am I doing it wrong? And finally, if you want to include this, you can give some sort of call to action. For example, if you want to start implementing this, if you really want to have that identity of blah 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 blah, if you want to see yourself, if you want to be a good speaker, if you want to be a persuasive person, if you want to have that affiliation, achievement, power, benefit, I didn't say it, but I would bring back the motivation again, then here's what I recommend you do right now. Put a video together. Put any 15 to 20 minute video together teaching something that's highly complicated, and use this exact structure that I gave you in the procedure and just talk it through. Doesn't matter if you screw up, or you don't feel like you're doing well, that's not a big deal. Just put it together and make one video. There's a call to action. So now you know why you should do it, you know what to do, you know the exact procedure, you know how to do it, how to see if you're doing it correctly, and you're being told exactly what to do to get started. And that is the whole thing. We're done. I will see you in the next video. If it's no effort for you, just tap like. It helps us get more visibility and helps us get this content out to more people. So I thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.